Since 2001, 4,486 U.S. soldiers have died in Iraq, 1,950 have died in Afghanistan, and 2,767 have died by suicide. My name is Ria Fonseca, and I'm giving my informative speech on suicide in the Army. According to Time, more U.S. soldiers have killed themselves than have died in the Afghan war. This related article shares a story of an Army wife that had overheard her husband on the phone with their 8-year-old daughter. "Do me a favor," he told the little girl. "Give your mommy a hug and tell her that I love her." She knew for certain when she got his message a few minutes later. "This is the hardest email I've ever written," Dr. Michael McCadden wrote. "Please always tell my children how much I love them, and mostly importantly, never let them know how I died. I love you, Mike." She did what she could to notify his co-workers, but it was too late. His body was found hanging in a hospital call room. Dr. McCadden had battled depression for years. A continent away, Rebecca Morrison, the wife of an AH-64 Apache helicopter pilot, began bargaining with her husband, Ian Morrison, over the phone about his stress and strain. Rebecca pleaded with Ian to contact the flight surgeon and call the Pentagon crisis hotline. He tried calling but waited on the line for more than 45 minutes. His final text to his wife was, "Still on hold." Rebecca found him that night in their bedroom after shooting himself in the neck. Both of these Army captains were on 2 different continents, but they both died on March the 21st. More soldiers are dying by their own hands. On average, 1 soldier is dying every day. With soldier suicides occurring every 80 minutes around the clock, the question of whether suicides have risen because of fighting 2 wars. Morrison flew 70 missions in Iraq in 9 months, however, had no contact with the enemy directly. McCadden was an OB resident in Hawaii and was trying to seek the help he needed 6 times. When his wife, Leslie McCadden, alerted his commanders of his pain, it was dismissed and not taken seriously. According to Psychiatry of 2011, about 30 years prior to 2005, the suicidal rate in active duty Army soldiers remained around 10 to 15 suicides per 100,000 persons per year. This baseline remained well below the average age-to-sex adjusted U.S. civilian rate over time. However, this changed in 2004 to 2005. In the Complexity Leadership, New Concepts for Dealing with Soldier Suicide, Military Review stated nearly 80% of those committing suicide in the Army had deployed to a combat zone only once or not at all. This suggested that stress factors besides involvement with combat was a major concern. Some suggestions, according to this article, is a lack of leadership because their leadership is basically outdated. As stated in Suicide Incidents and Risk Factors in the Active Duty U.S. military population, variables that cause suicide are those with mental health problems, increased mental health visits, taking sleeping medications, reduction in rank, separation, and divorce. Other triggers studied in this article included mental health diagnosis after a traumatic brain injury, post-traumatic stress disorder, suicidal ideation, and previous attempts. In conclusion, the Army is taking many steps to decrease the number of cases of soldiers attempting suicide. Soldiers are supposed to be strong, healthy men. Knowing the warning signs of at-risk soldiers is crucial. I've seen firsthand in the ER I work in that soldiers are committing suicide at an elevated rate. I was reading the paper the other day and just found a couple of articles in the Army Centennial, and it just shows how they're trying to advertise more promotions for soldiers to reach out and get help. This one says, "Have the courage to help a buddy," meaning just because you're a soldier doesn't mean you do not have the opportunity to receive help.